no joke, I've literally watched Blade Runner, the original 1982 one, like 3 times this week. Once for my film class, because that's what we're studying right now, and then twice because I just love the movie, and I needed a refresher before I saw 2049, so I got my friend Matt, we watched the movie, I watched it again, and I love it so much. So when a sequel to Blade Runner was announced, I was a little bit concerned because I consider the first film an unprecedented masterpiece. You heard me, I adore Blade Runner for so many reasons. So that being said, I went into Blade Runner 2049 after rewatching Blade Runner all those times this week with a lot of optimism and a lot of excitement, but just a hint of caution, because whenever you're doing a sequel to a film that I truly love and consider a masterpiece, one of my all-time favorite movies, and overall just a critically acclaimed movie in general, there's always that little sliver of doubt that, you know, it makes me wonder, are they going to be able to reach the heights of the original film, or is this sequel going to be like the other majority of sequels and just fall flat? I mean, I really wanted to love Kingsman, like in the last video, but unfortunately that was a sequel that had a lot of sequelitis. It tried to incorporate all of the fun stuff from the original, but just felt like a watered down version of the original. And to be honest with you, I was very nervous walking into 2049 because I was horrified that was exactly what was going to happen with this movie. I can't even tell you the plot of this movie. The plot of the film in itself is a spoiler, so if I say any plot details, I'm automatically telling you something that the movie doesn't want you to know about. So that being said, this review is going to be very vague. I might actually probably do a spoiler review for this film because I feel like it needs to be brought up in more depth and detail. And I can, you know, analyze the themes and stuff that it kind of carries over from Blade Runner. So that being said, just keep in mind that I'm not going to go into too much detail, but that's for a specific reason. That being said, let's talk about why Blade Runner 2049 is an unprecedented masterpiece, and not only one of the best films I've seen all year, but one of the best films of the past decade.
I always told you, you're special. Your story isn't over yet. There's still a page left.
What's up, guys? I'm Jacob Suggs, and welcome back to Quick Thoughts, where I give you my quick thoughts on a movie. And today we're talking about Blade Runner 2049, one of my most anticipated films, not just of the year, but of all time. And yeah, you probably already guessed it, I absolutely love the film. The movie itself cast all of my doubts aside as soon as it started to meet all of my expectations, and by the end of the movie, I kid you not, had surpassed my expectations so much that I was just in awe over the film that I just watched. All of the performances in this movie are fantastic. Ryan Gosling, of course, is the standout of the film, though Harrison Ford, who is in the movie, I mean, he's on the poster, so I'm not giving that away. Harrison Ford does do a great job in this movie. There have been some instances to where we've seen Harrison Ford come back, and he's just not interested to be in the franchise. But that being said, this is one instance to where he did a fantastic job in this movie, and it was great seeing the character of Deckard again on the screen. And a lot of the newcomers and new characters that are introduced into the Blade Runner universe now in this movie are also just amazing. I actually really dug Jared Leto's character in this movie. I know some people are very iffy about Jared Leto as a person, as an actor, and his interpretation of the script and what, you know, his character needs to do. But that being said, I thought that Jared Leto's character in this movie was extremely menacing. He was an extremely interesting character, and I really liked where his character went, and I liked where all of the characters went, because each character has an arc, but the arc isn't just a subplot for the sake of being a subplot, it's a subplot that plays into the entire narrative of the film. Now, the biggest complaint that I know audiences are gonna have with this movie is that the trailer completely marketed it as an action film, but it isn't. Much like the original Blade Runner, 2049 is extremely slow, but it's slow for a reason, and I feel like, to me, that isn't a problem, but to your casual, average moviegoer, it might be one. The film isn't your typical blockbuster with action and explosions left and right. The film is kind of a think piece, and whenever you leave the movie, it leaves you pondering about several questions that it poses throughout the entire runtime of the movie. And to me, that's what I love about movies. I love walking out of a movie and thinking about the film for hours upon hours. And I saw it last night, and I thought about just coming home and doing a review then and there, but I decided to give it a day because I really just wanted to think about it and just kind of ponder and dwell on the film that I just watched in all of its glory. For me, this movie was the Mad Max Fury Road of 2017. What I mean by that is, it's a completely unexpected, fantastic, incredible masterpiece of filmmaking. It's the kind of film that's going to turn young kids into filmmakers, or at least young adults, because the film is a very hard R and has some very intense scenes that young kids probably shouldn't be exposed to. And those are my favorite kinds of movies. The movies that hit me personally for several reasons, and it hit me basically for the same reason that Blade Runner hit me whenever I first saw it in high school. And that's another thing I commend this movie for. Most sequels try to incorporate all of the elements of the first film in the franchise and say, hey, you like this? Well, we're gonna amp it up and make it way better, and you're gonna like this one even more. But typically that isn't what happens, and the sequel just kind of feels like a rehash and doesn't feel, original, I guess is the word. Yes, it sounds like Blade Runner. Yes, it looks like Blade Runner. Yes, the characters do feel like they fit in the Blade Runner world. But the movie is its own movie. It's its own contained entity. It's not setting up for sequels or for a big franchise. It's connected to Blade Runner. It is the same world, but it's not the same movie as Blade Runner was. Blade Runner is its own unique film noir film. Blade Runner 2049 does have elements of Blade Runner, but it feels like a completely different movie and its own singular film at the end of the day. The cinematography in this film completely deserves an Oscar. It was amazing. Everything about the way this movie looked felt like Blade Runner, but also was just incredibly well shot, and even some of the lighting in the scenes just completely took my breath away. And the score for this movie, Hans Zimmer rarely lets me down. He did not let me down here either. The score for this film is absolutely breathtaking, and it's a joy to listen to, and it has its own unique sound that once again incorporates elements that the Blade Runner original film had, but this one, there's just so many good things I can say about it. I was so scared I was going to have to give this a negative review, but I can tell you right now, it's my favorite film I've seen all year. And it has potential of staying there, because Blade Runner 2049 is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece on a technical level, and it's a masterpiece on an entertainment level. It's one of the most perfect films I've ever seen, and it's on par with the original Blade Runner. I had no hope whenever a sequel to Blade Runner was announced, and I'm so glad that my optimism paid off. It's rare that I say a sequel is as great, if not better, than the original. I don't know if I can say Blade Runner 2049 is better than Blade Runner, but boy is it close to being better than Blade Runner. So what did you think of Blade Runner 2049? Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, I'm Frame by Frame. Remember the name. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, guys.